My child. Pause here. Do not let your hand move past this moment, because what you are about to hear has not reached you by accident. Something has shifted in the heart of the one you have been carrying in silence, and heaven is allowing you to feel the first tremor of it now. There are words your soulmate has held behind closed lips for far too long, words buried beneath fear, pressure, pride, and the voices of people who never understood what the two of you truly shared. But tonight, something inside them has finally broken free. Their heart is no longer whispering. It is rising. It is choosing. And the message trembling within them is this: I am done listening to other people. I choose you. Do not rush away from these words, because the deepest part has not yet been revealed. For a long time, you believed their silence meant indifference. You wondered whether their distance was proof that they had forgotten you. You questioned whether the connection you felt was only yours to carry, whether every sign, every memory, every sudden ache in your chest had been created by hope rather than truth. But what you could not see was the battle taking place around them. People spoke into their uncertainty. Some warned them about you without truly knowing you. Others projected their own disappointments onto your bond. A few smiled while planting doubts, and your soulmate, already afraid of how deeply they felt, allowed those voices to become louder than their own heart. Yet the truth did not disappear. It waited. It followed them into quiet rooms. It sat beside them during conversations where they pretended to agree with everyone else. It returned in the middle of laughter that felt empty. It rose when they heard a song connected to you, when they passed a place that carried your memory, when they looked at their phone and almost reached out. The truth kept returning because what is real cannot be silenced forever. And now, the very people whose opinions once controlled them are beginning to lose their power. Something happened recently that changed the atmosphere around your soulmate. It may have looked small from the outside, but within them it felt like thunder. Someone spoke about you again. Perhaps your name entered a conversation unexpectedly. Perhaps a person close to them said something dismissive, something designed to make your soulmate turn away from you for good. They expected your soulmate to remain quiet as before. They expected a nod, a weak smile, or another surrender. But this time, your soulmate felt something rise in their chest that they could no longer push down. They became still. And in that stillness, they finally understood how many times they had betrayed their own heart just to keep peace with others. They remembered every moment they wanted to defend you but remained silent. They remembered every decision they delayed because someone else might disapprove. They remembered how they allowed people who had never felt this connection to judge it. And suddenly, the pain of losing you became greater than the fear of disappointing them. This is where the story changes. Your soulmate is no longer asking everyone else what they should feel. They are no longer looking around the room before admitting what their heart already knows. They are beginning to recognize that every person who advised them had their own motives, their own wounds, their own limitations. Some believed they were protecting your soulmate, but they were speaking from fear. Some could not understand your connection because they had never experienced anything that deep. And some, my child, were threatened by the possibility that your soulmate might become brave enough to choose a life that could no longer be controlled. There is a difference between guidance and interference, and your soulmate is finally seeing it. For so long, they mistook approval for love. They believed that if enough people agreed with their choice, then it must be right. They tried to make decisions that looked sensible from the outside, even when those decisions left them empty within. They attempted to move forward without you. They may have distracted themselves, entertained other conversations, buried themselves in responsibilities, or convinced themselves that time would erase what they felt. But time did not erase you. Time revealed you. The longer they tried to forget, the clearer your place in their heart became. Others could occupy their attention, but they could not reach the place you touched. Other voices could fill the room, but they could not create the peace your presence once brought. Your soulmate began to compare every connection to the one they had with you, and each comparison left them with the same unspoken truth: something was missing. You were missing. And this realization did not arrive gently. It came with regret. It came with nights of staring into darkness, replaying moments they mishandled. It came with the painful recognition that they may have hurt the one person they secretly wanted to protect. They began to wonder whether you had finally grown tired of waiting. They questioned whether your heart had closed. They imagined you moving on, smiling with someone who did not hesitate, someone who did not allow outsiders to decide your worth. That thought shook them more deeply than they expected. For the first time, your soulmate understood that choosing nothing was still a choice. Remaining silent was a decision. Allowing other people to speak for them had consequences. They realized they could not continue saying, "I need more time," while expecting your heart to remain exactly where they left it. Love is patient, but it is not meant to live forever in confusion. And somewhere within them, a voice began to say, "If you do not speak now, you may lose this person completely." That voice has grown louder. You may have felt the shift before you had any proof. Perhaps you woke suddenly with them on your mind. Perhaps your emotions changed without explanation. Perhaps you felt an unexpected calm after weeks of uncertainty, as though an invisible storm had finally begun to move away. This was not necessarily a promise of instant perfection, but it was the sign of an internal decision forming. Your soulmate has reached the edge of something they can no longer avoid. They have been standing between two worlds. In one world, they remain obedient to every opinion, every warning, every expectation placed upon them. In that world, they keep everyone comfortable while slowly abandoning themselves. In the other world, they tell the truth. They admit that despite every attempt to deny it, their heart still returns to you. They risk being misunderstood. They risk questions, resistance, perhaps even conflict. But for the first time, that second world feels more peaceful than the first. Because peace does not always mean the absence of conflict. Sometimes peace begins the moment you stop fighting your own truth. And your soulmate is tired, my child. Not tired of you. Tired of pretending. Tired of performing strength while carrying regret. Tired of smiling when people tell them they made the right decision, while something inside them quietly says, "No, you did not." They are tired of explaining away the connection. Tired of acting as though your absence does not affect them. tired of allowing fear to wear the mask of wisdom. They have started looking back at the people who influenced them, and something no longer makes sense. They are noticing contradictions. The same people who told them to let you go cannot explain why your soulmate remains unhappy. The same voices that promised relief now have no answer for the emptiness that followed. Some encouraged distance but offered no healing. Others criticized you but never took the time to understand what really happened. And now your soulmate is beginning to ask a dangerous question, dangerous only to those who benefited from their silence. What if they were wrong? Once that question entered their mind, everything began to unravel. They revisited memories they had tried to distort. They remembered your kindness, not only your mistakes. They remembered how safe certain moments felt. They remembered the way you listened when others only waited to speak. They remembered the depth behind your eyes, the honesty in your concern, the things you noticed that no one else seemed to see. They began to understand that the story told about you was incomplete. And then came the realization that wounded them most. You may have been waiting for them to stand up for the connection, while they were waiting for permission from people who were never meant to decide its future. That truth brought them to an emotional breaking point. There was a recent moment when your soulmate could no longer hide what they felt. Maybe they were alone. Maybe they were surrounded by people but emotionally somewhere else. Their chest tightened. Their thoughts returned to you. A memory surfaced with such force that they could not dismiss it. They remembered something you once said, something simple that now carried a new meaning. Perhaps you told them that one day they would understand. Perhaps you said you could not continue proving your heart to people committed to misunderstanding it. Perhaps you walked away quietly, not because you stopped caring, but because you could no longer fight a battle your soulmate refused to acknowledge. Now they understand. They see that your silence was not weakness. Your distance was not a game. Your withdrawal was not proof that you never loved them. It was the moment your soul chose dignity over endless uncertainty. And that realization has changed how they view everything. Your soulmate is beginning to see you not as the person who complicated their life, but as the person whose presence forced them to confront the parts of themselves they had avoided. You awakened courage they were not ready to use. You showed them a depth of love they wanted but feared. You mirrored their unhealed wounds, their fear of judgment, their habit of abandoning their own desires to satisfy others. That is why the connection felt so intense. It was never only about romance. It was about transformation. Your presence asked them to become honest. Your love invited them to grow. And because growth can feel like losing an old identity, they ran toward familiar voices. They chose what felt socially safe over what felt spiritually true. But now the safe path has become unbearable. Listen carefully, because this next part matters. Your soulmate's statement, "I choose you," is not merely about choosing a relationship. It is about choosing courage over fear. Truth over performance. Their own heart over the noise surrounding them. To choose you, they must also choose a version of themselves that no longer hides behind excuses. They must become willing to take responsibility for the silence, the hesitation, and the confusion they allowed to grow between you. And they know this. They know that words alone may not be enough. They are thinking about what they would say if they had one honest moment with you. They have imagined the conversation many times. In some versions, they begin with an apology. In others, they try to explain how overwhelmed they felt. Sometimes they picture you saying nothing, simply looking at them with the eyes that once saw through every defense. That possibility frightens them because they know you may no longer be the same person they left in uncertainty. You have changed. You have become quieter in places where you once pleaded to be understood. You have stopped chasing answers that should have been freely given. You have begun learning that love should not require you to shrink, beg, or constantly prove your intentions. Even if part of you still cares deeply, another part has awakened. That part remembers your worth. Your soulmate can sense this change. They feel that your energy is no longer reaching toward them in the same way. The invisible reassurance they once depended on has become less certain. You may still love them, but you are no longer carrying the entire connection alone. And this is exactly what forced them to face themselves. When you stopped trying to convince them, they began hearing their own heart. When you stopped explaining, they began questioning the explanations others had given them. When you stopped chasing, they finally noticed the distance they had created. This is why your stillness has been powerful. Do not mistake stillness for inactivity. Sometimes the greatest spiritual movement occurs when you refuse to force what must be chosen freely. You did not lose your power by stepping back. You returned to it. And from that place, the truth began working where your words no longer could. There is someone around your soulmate who has noticed the change. This person may not understand everything, but they can see that your soulmate is no longer as easily influenced. Perhaps not in the dramatic way you once hoped for, but enough to shift the room. They may have said, "You do not know the whole story." They may have corrected something false. They may have asked someone to stop speaking about you disrespectfully. Or perhaps they simply refused to participate in a conversation that once would have pulled them further away from you. That moment was more important than it appeared. Because it was the first visible sign that their loyalty was changing direction. The people around them felt it. Someone may have become quiet. Someone may have looked surprised. Another person may have tried to regain control by reminding your soulmate of the past. But the usual words did not work this time. Your soulmate had already begun to see through them. Inside, they were saying something they were not yet brave enough to announce aloud. "You had your chance to advise me. I listened. I lost peace. I lost time. I may have lost the person I love. I am not doing this anymore." And when they finally walked away from that conversation, their heart was pounding. Not because they doubted what they had done. Because they knew there was no going back to the person they had been. This decision is still unfolding. It may not yet have reached your eyes through action, but it has entered their spirit. A line has been crossed within them. They are beginning to understand that choosing you will require more than a private feeling. It will demand a public boundary. They must tell certain people, "This is my life." They must say, "You do not have to understand, but you must respect my decision." They must stop bringing your connection before people who treat it like a debate. They must accept that some people may withdraw when they can no longer control the outcome. And your soulmate is preparing for this. Yet there is one fear they have not overcome. It is not the fear of other people anymore. It is the fear that they are too late. They wonder whether you would believe them. They wonder whether you would see their return as genuine or simply another emotional wave. They know they created reasons for you to be cautious. They know your heart may not open simply because they finally found courage. And this is forcing them to think beyond a message. They are considering a gesture. Something honest. Something that cannot be easily misunderstood. Something that shows they are no longer hiding behind the approval of others. They want you to see that their decision is real, but they are struggling with how to approach you without reopening your wounds. They have written and erased words. They have imagined sending a message late at night, then stopped because they did not want emotion to make them careless. They have thought about calling, but feared hearing distance in your voice. They may have visited your page, looked at an old photograph, reread a conversation, or searched for a sign that your heart is still reachable. But the sign they seek may not come in the way they expect. Because heaven is not asking you to chase them back into courage. They must come forward themselves. Your role is not to make their decision easy by abandoning your boundaries. Your role is to remain truthful. You can care without losing yourself. You can hope without putting your life on hold. You can remain open to healing while refusing to return to confusion. This is the balance your soul has been learning. And your soulmate is about to be tested by it. They will have to decide whether they are willing to face the consequences of their past hesitation. Choosing you does not mean demanding immediate access to you. It means respecting what you need. It means showing consistency. It means accepting that trust may need to be rebuilt slowly. It means proving through calm action that this is not another temporary rebellion against outside pressure. Deep inside, they know this. That is why their next move matters so much. They do not want to come toward you with another incomplete truth. They are tired of saying half of what they feel and leaving you to guess the rest. They are tired of hiding behind vague words. Something within them is pushing them to be direct. I listen to everyone except myself. I let fear decide for me. I hurt you because I was afraid to disappoint people who were not living my life. I thought silence would protect me, but it only created distance from the person I truly wanted. I do not expect you to forget what happened. But I need you to know that I choose you. These are the words gathering inside them. And yet, there is more. There is a truth your soulmate has not told anyone, not even those closest to them. It concerns the exact moment they realized they could no longer continue without confronting what they felt for you. This moment was not only emotional. It was connected to something they discovered, something they heard, or something they saw that made them understand you had been more sincere than they were led to believe. For days, they have carried this discovery alone. It has changed the way they see the past. It has changed the way they see the people who influenced them. And most of all, it has changed the way they see you. They now know that one of the strongest reasons they were told to walk away was built on a misunderstanding. Perhaps even a deliberate distortion. Someone left out an important detail. Someone framed your actions in a way that served their own opinion. Someone convinced your soulmate that your silence meant rejection, when in truth you were protecting yourself from more pain. Your soulmate recently learned enough to realize that the story was never complete. And when they confronted the possibility that they had judged you unfairly, they felt ashamed. They are not only choosing you now because they miss you. They are choosing you because they finally see what you endured. They see how often you stood alone while others interpreted your heart for you. They see how you were blamed for reactions created by repeated disappointment. They see that while everyone focused on your moment of withdrawal, almost no one asked what pushed you to that point. This realization has awakened a fierce protectiveness in them. The same person who once remained silent now feels anger when your name is treated carelessly. Not destructive anger, but the anger of someone realizing they failed to protect something sacred. They want to correct the record. They want to speak the truth. They want the people who doubted you to know that they no longer have authority over this connection. But before they do, they need to tell you something. Something they have never admitted. They chose the opinions of others not because those opinions were stronger than their love, but because their love for you was so powerful that it terrified them. Loving you made the future feel real. It asked them to make decisions. It exposed what they truly wanted. Listening to others gave them an escape from responsibility. They could say, "My family does not agree. They warned me. The timing is wrong. It is too complicated." But beneath every excuse was one hidden confession: I am afraid of how much this matters. Now they are more afraid of losing it. And that fear has become courage. There is movement around them. A conversation is approaching. A boundary is about to be drawn. A decision that was once private is moving closer to action. You may hear something unexpectedly. You may receive a message when you are not prepared. You may notice a change in the way someone connected to them behaves toward you. Or your soulmate may appear with a level of honesty you have never seen before. But before that happens, there is one final obstacle. One person still believes they can change your soulmate's mind. This person has sensed the shift and is preparing to speak. They may use guilt. They may remind your soulmate of old mistakes. They may exaggerate the risks of choosing you. They may present themselves as concerned while quietly trying to preserve their influence. Your soulmate knows this confrontation is coming. And this time, they have prepared a response. Not a weak excuse. Not silence. Not another delay. A response that may shock everyone who hears it. Because when this person asks your soulmate whether they are truly willing to ignore every warning, risk disapproval, and walk back toward the one they were told to leave behind, your soulmate will look directly at them and say words they have never dared to say before. But what happens immediately after those words are spoken will reveal the secret that has been hidden from you all along.